Hey guys, we're gonna do a little fun experiment today. I'm sure people have tried this. I don't think I've seen anybody actually record them doing this, but I'm gonna be recording myself doing this. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna taste a miracle fruit, and if you're not familiar with the miracle fruit, what it does, from my understanding, is it blocks all the kind of acid sour receptors in your tongue from tasting anything sour. So what you're left with is all the other flavors, which usually you get that concentration of sweetness due to it. And then we're gonna eat a miracle fruit, and then we're gonna eat one of the sour green mangoes to see what it does. See what it does, what I think about it. So just kind of like, no, I've done this in the past a few times. So I get asked a lot of questions often about, I'm in the LA, Orange County area of California. We have a huge Southeast Asian population that eats green mangoes, whether they're sour, whether they're sweet. So I get asked a lot of questions all the time about Thai sweet mangoes and how well it grows here, and does it do well, and what varieties should you go with, and so forth. The most popular green sweet Thai mango that's probably imported. You kind of get them imported from Asia. Is probably Kiel Savoy. That one leans towards a very sweet side of it, and then there's some other varieties that's kind of more like a kind of Granny Smith kind of tartness to it, where it's sweet but it has like a kind of Granny Smith apple tartness to it, like Pim Sang Mun. There's some of those larger larger kind of Vietnamese mangoes that's kind of sweet tart, sweet and tart, and you eat it green. But the Thai ones is the most popular one. So I get asked a lot of time about which one goes well here. Unfortunately, I'm about 12 miles from the coast, and I have not ran. I am growing about maybe half a dozen of those sweet green eating Thai varieties. I haven't ran any that I would purely recommend yet. They all seem to grow very slow. They all seem to be very fungal prone, especially to powder mildew. Unfortunately for those really green, sweet eating, crunchy Thai varieties, I would say unless you're like 20 miles inland, it's kind of going to probably be a bit of a challenge growing it close to the coast. So that's my experience with it. So what this is going to be, what I am kind of doing, is like a poor man's version of a Kiel Savoy or a Thai sweet green mango. And you can probably see me pause and unpause the video a few times, because I'm sure you don't want to kind of just see me peeling a mango or just kind of chewing on a miracle fruit, right? So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna eat this miracle fruit right here. So it's these little berries. They grow okay. They're not very they're not as sensitive to cold. I mean, it still grows well. Like I get a crop like towards the end of the year. I think I could probably get it throughout the year. The way you would treat growing a miracle berry, I would treat it as though you were growing blueberries. Very acidic soil, lots of pumice or perlite for oxygen. That's how you would grow a miracle fruit. Don't use any other Absolutely don't use any other potting mix, even if they say this potting mix is created for for blueberries or for azaleas, an acidic loving plant. Use something that is at least 50% peat, and then kind of mix it up with inert material that kind of gives the potting soil a bit more oxygen, whether that's like perlite or pumice, decomposed granite, whatever it is. But that's the best way I have found in terms of growing a miracle berry. Okay, so I am gonna eat this. So the best way, from my understanding, when you eat this, is you're gonna eat it. There's no taste to this. There's absolutely no taste to the miracle berry. It's just bland. There's no off flavors. There's no sweetness or anything like that. But what you're trying to do is at least kind of coat your entire tongue with the juice or with the flesh of this miracle berry. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do right now. So it is very, very little flesh, right? It's like all you're getting is probably like mostly skin and some tiny flesh on it. But what I'm doing is I'm just kind of moving the seed around, my tongue, trying to make sure I coat everything. And here it is. Pretty much the same size as the berry. Okay, so what do I have here in terms of the mango? Okay, I have here is a Nam Doc Mai number 4. This was it's a full-size fruit. Came from one of the summer crops, summer blooms. And this right here is my California Remit, pretty much green. And this is also California Remit, but as you know, when they get much more mature, all the edges around it kind of fills out. And lots of times I do get questions about Nam Doc Mai number 4 in terms of how it looks like. And lots of times people send me stuff and say, hey, this is Nam Doc Mai. And I'm like, no. I mean, you look at this, they kind of look similar, but the Nam Doc Mai, this point right here is always pointing down. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start cutting this. I'm going to probably freeze this video to move on faster because I just realized I should have probably cut this before I tasted the miracle fruit. So that way it would move along faster. And the one thing about the miracle berry, I noticed it lasts about 20-30 minutes. So I need to kind of get going on this. So I'm going to freeze this. Next thing come around, we're going to see me all this fruit's being peeled. Okay. Okay, so I am back. Brain fart on my part. I should have peeled all this before I even tried the miracle fruit, instead of just wasting time, right? Like I said, it only lasts about 20-30 minutes. So here's a kind of almost pretty much ripe Keel Savoy was still firm, but everything's kind of soft to the texture. This one is still green. The tip was a little bit yellow, so I kind of cut that off. And this is the Nam Doc Mai, which is the most sourest, one of the most sourest mangoes I ever had as a green mango. So I'm gonna go from right to left. Very sweet. I still taste like some acidity to it, but it's not like a sour, like extremely sour taste to it. What this reminds me of is like take a fruit and you like to sprinkle like a bunch of sugar on it, and then you kind of also tone down the acidity to it. So the acidity kind of disappears, and then it's like sprinkling sugar on it. I know how sour Nam Doc Mai is. The fact that I could eat it like this, I'm very, very surprised. Okay, let's move on. I'm gonna try the California Remit. try this one now, which is the California Mint, but a more riper fermentation. It just tastes really sweet to me. So it does definitely work, you know. But when you do eat it, something about it does kind of tell you that it's not purely kind of like right. You know, it doesn't have that. You know, like when you're eating fake sugar, like those aspartame, whatever it is, that has a weird aftertaste. You know, it's fake sugar. This is more like a sprinkling of sugar on top of this, if that makes sense. So like the concentration of sugar I'm getting on my tongue, it's like I'm not talking about texture, right? I'm talking about like if I got a bunch of drop of sand on my tongue, right? There's those little spots, different spots on the tongue that's getting these concentration of sugar, while the other areas it's not as sweet. But there's those concentration of sweetness seems to be in like different spots on your tongue, if that makes sense. So that's why it kind of gives me a bit of that kind of not in terms of texture, but like almost like granular spotting the sweetness on my tongue, if that makes any sense to you guys. trying to describe as best as I can with this. I mean, I like it. It's a good fun experiment. This thing lasts for about 20-30 minutes. At the end of this, you probably kind of get hit. Depending how much sour stuff you had, you might get a hit with a bit of like, and your tongue's like, what the heck did you just give me? I just kind of got a hit of like strong sourness after everything's done, you know? So that's what happened the last few times for me. It probably depends on how much sour things you have eat during this time too. But this is kind of like my poor man's version of a Keel Savoy, a sweet, crunchy Thai eating variety. It's like taking the fruit. There's some acidity to it, like almost like a sub-acidity to it. It's still there, right? But it's not like this crazy sourness to it. And then it's like you're sprinkling sugar on it, you know. So I've always loved the texture of Nam Doc Mino 4. It is one of the most crispiest mangoes I ever had as a green mango. Unfortunately, it's so sour you can't really enjoy it as a green mango. This is my California Mint. My California Mint has a bit more terpenes on it, so you can still kind of taste that. Green sour mango. So I recommend you guys try some of this, you know. It's a good fun, and if you're like a big fan of Thai mangoes, you might like it. It's not a perfect substitute for it, but it's a good one. It's a good one. Just cutting my California Mint. It is a large fruit with a thin seed. And like I said, even on something sweet, it still feels like I'm getting that sprinkling of sugar on my tongue. Just a tiny seed of the California Mint. Yeah, so even on something that's really sweet already, I still get that sprinkling of sugar on my tongue. That's how, well, probably maybe your receptors for sweetness is kind of at. I guess that's how it works. Okay, everyone. I mean, thanks. Thanks for checking this out. I hope maybe it's a fun experiment you guys could do with yourself. Also, I mean, I'm gonna just be finishing the rest of this. So if you guys want to stick around, listen to me finish the mango. All right. Thanks, everyone. Till next time.